Day number 2! Where is it? Where is it? There! It's a star! So a while ago, I posted this video.
There is a map in my room, on the wall of my room, and I've got big, big plans.
It showed one photo from every city that I travelled to between the months of August 2015 and March 2016. At the end of the video, I said this. And some people said... So now it's my turn to finally uphold my end of the bargain. The first place that I'm going to talk about is Aswan. Aswan is in Egypt, and it was one of the first stops that Kate and I did on our tour. The biggest thing that we saw in Aswan was the Aswan Dam, which kind of controls the water supply into Egypt from the Nile. We kind of just drove along it twice, I think, in the bus and kind of took pictures. We also stopped at this monument that was really cool, and I don't remember what it was for. I think it was something to do with something. Yeah. These are some riveting travel stories. Probably my favorite thing that we did in Aswan was the Philae Temple, which was I'm gonna say Greco-Roman temple, I might be wrong, dedicated to the Egyptian god Isis, who was like mother of Horus, gonna say, maybe wife of Horus. I don't really remember. The temple was reached by a little boat ride, and it was very scenic and beautiful. The coolest thing about the Philae Temple was Kate reading all the hieroglyphs, because I think that's a very amazing skill to have. And she taught me one that I could look out for called Nesubiti. It means, gonna say, King of Upper and Lower Egypt? I think that's right. Because the North and the South were divided a lot, and then they made one king for both of them, that kind of thing. I just remember it because it looked like a bee. And it's Nesubiti. If you want to know more about my time in Egypt, probably best to check out this video that Kate made of our time, and that explains kind of everything that happened there. The next place is Pamukkale and Cappadocia. Cappadocia. So those two places are in Turkey. Basically, I flew to Istanbul thinking that I would stay there for a bit and then move on through Eastern Europe. I ended up staying in Istanbul for a week, and I ended up staying in Turkey for 6 weeks because there's so many amazing things in Turkey. I'd been in Turkey for 5 weeks, decided that it's probably time for me to move on, but there are a few big places in Turkey that I hadn't seen yet, and I decided to cram that all into a few days. I caught a lot of overnight buses, tried to do this as quickly as I could just because they were kind of must-sees. At the same time, I was feeling quite sick, so I was doing these overnight bus trips and kind of holding in all my body fluids. There's a lovely image for you. Cappadocia is incredible. It's this beautiful city. Oh my gosh, I don't remember a lot about history, okay? If you want to know like real history things about Cappadocia, feel free to look it up. I'll just tell you what I did. There's like this kind of out of space feel about the place. There's these weird kind of rock formations that years and years ago some civilization has carved into, and there are like homes and temples / churches. I stayed in a cave hostel which was like inside the rock, and that was very cool. The number one thing to do in Cappadocia is a hot air balloon ride, and this is how mine went. Yeah, that was incredible. I have no more words. On the same day, I went to some of the hideouts that some people used to hide from some other people. Byzantine, Christians, Ottoman Empire. Feel like some of those words might be right. They went really deep into the ground and had all these kind of like traps and things to kind of hide them from their enemies. The collective them, I can't remember who it was. So I was there, I think 2 full days and then 3 nights, and on the 3rd night I caught a bus overnight to Pamukkale. Still feeling quite ill, but determined to finish my extreme tourism challenge of Turkey. Pamukkale is these kind of calcium pools. Basically it looks like snow, but it's not. It's like calcium deposits from the earth. And they have these pools that are very high in mineral content, and you're gonna go in there and get cleansed. It was also like an old town with an amphitheater and roads. It used to be like a healing center for some people. I want to say Roman, but I really think that's wrong. Maybe Greek. Don't know. Basically, it was like a place for a lot of tourists to come and do a cool photo shoot. So I did this. Yeah. There was like one other section that was like someone's pool, and it was supposedly like where all the real minerals were, and you would be beautiful again. But it was an extra price to the ticket price, and I was like, ain't nobody got the money for that. The next place that I'm going to tell you about is my stories from Bethlehem. This was one of the most interesting places that I went to for sure. Actually, Israel was one of the most interesting countries that I went to. Probably the country that I would most highly recommend people to check out. Bethlehem I did as a day trip from staying in Jerusalem, which meant that I had to cross the border into Palestine, and that was interesting.
Oh, little town of Bethlehem.
A short bus ride out of Jerusalem, you hit the border into Palestine, and there is a massive wall which you have to cross and do the passport check and security scans, which was slightly intimidating. So the first thing that I noticed in Bethlehem was the heavy Israeli police presence. To be perfectly honest with you, my time in Palestine was probably the only time that I felt a little unsafe. There's a lot of tension and guns and big scary walls. It was interesting to get even just a little experience of what the conflict is like between Israel and Palestine. But I didn't want to spend too much time there. So the thing that I went to see there was the Nativity Church, which had the grotto which was believed to be the place where Jesus was born. The thing about Jerusalem and all over Bethlehem is that there were lots of places that claimed to be the site of this and that. But there was also maybe a few others that also claimed to be the site of this and that. Those places were kind of intimidating. There was lots of incense and big shiny ornaments and pilgrims kind of kissing the ground. So that was interesting to see. And then outside the church was heaps of gift shops selling Christmas ornaments. Probably my favorite thing in Bethlehem was along this wall that kind of divides Palestine and Israel is a lot of graffiti, and there's some really interesting kind of political messages and artistic protests. Of course, there are the famous Banksy ones there too, and they were very powerful pieces of art, especially experiencing them kind of within the conflict that they were protesting. And the last one that I was asked to talk about is kind of the Middle East in general. So I'll just make a few quick points. It was an amazing place to travel to. I kind of ended up there by chance, really. Actually, a lot of my travels was by chance. I spent time with my family in Italy. My parents wanted to keep traveling, but my sister had to get back to Australia. So I flew with her to Dubai, and then she got the connecting flight back to Sydney. I was in Dubai. I met Kate a month and a half later in Egypt and decided to spend that month and a half traveling around the Middle East. It's not the easiest place to kind of backpack through. It's not very traveler friendly, there's not very many hostels. I had to be a little bit inventive to kind of keep the costs down. It is one of those places that's a little bit more untouched. There were so many cultural differences to experience, sounds like the call to prayer being blasted 5 times a day. Smells like frankincense and hookah smoke, and a completely different alphabet. I think it was really valuable to experience the Arabic world firsthand, especially because of the way our Western media sends them up and paints them in such a bad light. And though I have a lot to say about this, I guess I'll keep it simple and say, no one wants war. I don't profess to know everything about politics and what was going on behind what I saw. But on a citizen, people level, these are peaceful countries. But let me leave you with my favorite piece of graffiti. This was written on a cannon in a town in Israel called Akko, and it said, "Make hummus, not war." Words to live by. Because the other thing is that the food there was amazing. Oh my gosh, shawarma, falafels, hummus, pita, blah 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 blah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed those travel tales. So check out the original video. Leave a comment below on which city you'd like to hear the tale from. As you can tell, I'm not that great at telling the story of a place, but do it, and thanks for watching. Alright, bye.